010107 Options for putting OS on Virtual Server. Now that our virtual machine configuration is complete, it's time to turn it on and install the operating system. Each virtual machine needs its own unique OS installation, but once you have it set up, you can create multiple copies of it. The new virtual machine we created is like a physical computer with a blank hard disk. Before you can use it, you must partition and format the virtual disk and install an operating system. The operating system's installation program might handle the partitioning and formatting steps for you. Installing a guest operating system inside your virtual machine is essentially the same as installing it on a physical computer. There are 4 ways to put an operating system on our blank server. The first one is to install the operating system using the client device option, which basically means you insert the DVD into your local workstation DVD ROM, and ESX Server maps that device to the VM in a way so that the VM can boot off that DVD media. The second one is to use the host device option, which could be useful if you have physical DVD ROM in your ESX host. You can insert the DVD install media into the ESX host DVD ROM and use that device to install the OS. The third option, called Data Store ISO, is when you use an ISO file that is already being uploaded on the ESX Server local hard drive or a shared storage SAN. The last option is to use an ISO image located on your local workstation hard disk. So let's take a look at the installation options. I'm going to right-click on my Test Server 1 and select Edit Settings. And then I'm going to highlight the CD/DVD drive. And here are our first 3 options: Client Device, Host Device, or Data Store ISO file. And what this is how your CD-ROM drive on your virtual machine is going to look. So if we've got client device selected, it's actually going to read the CD-ROM that is in the client. And the client is the computer you're on right now. It's a desktop or laptop you're on. So it's actually going to mount that CD-ROM that's in your desktop or laptop. And in the next section, we're actually going to go over this and do this. Our next option is host device. And we can actually connect to the CD-ROM drive that's on our ESX server. So we can put a bootable CD into our ESX server and our virtual machine will connect to that device. And we want to normally select the option Connect at Power. If we don't do this, then our CD-ROM won't be mounted when the machine power is on, and it won't boot from the CD-ROM. So you want to remember to check that if you use this option. And also, you want to remember to remove the CD-ROM from your ESX server when you're done, because if your ESX reboots, it's also going to boot from that CD. So the third option is the Data Store ISO file. And this is actually my favorite because you can actually mount an ISO file that is located on your ESX server. And this is definitely the fastest option because nothing is transferred over the network. Note that ISO images can be stored on either a VMFS data store or an NFS data store. Storing ISO images on a VMFS or NFS data store allows you to share the ISO images across multiple ESX servers, as long as the data store is visible to the ESX server. So this is your fastest way and my favorite way of doing things. And when we do this, we actually browse. And this is on our ESX server, and I've got mine stored in /ISO images. And we can actually highlight an ISO image. Click OK and select Connect at Power On. And it will automatically mount this ISO image. And we're going to do this completely in another movie because I want to show you how to get the ISO images on your ESX server. In previous versions of ESX, you had to use special tools to do that. And if you're not familiar with Linux, that can be a little tricky. Fortunately, not anymore. So I'm going to cancel out. I'm going to go ahead and power on our virtual server by right-clicking on it and selecting Power On. And it's going to power up. And then we need to look at the console. Then I'm going to right-click on it and select Open Console. Now this is the first time we've actually looked at a console of our virtual server, and this is exactly the same as sitting down in front of your server with a monitor, keyboard, and mouse that is connected directly to it. And expand it out, and we can see it boot up. And it just takes a second to boot up. And notice it tries to find an IP address, and it's going to try to boot from a PXE server. So this is our fourth and final option as far as building a server from scratch. So if we have a PXE server, we cannot connect to any CD/DVD ROM drives, and it will just boot automatically. But here it couldn't find one, so it says Operating System Not Found. So in the next movies, we're going to go ahead and go through each step.